Ropp Star Gang, what up? What up? Appreciate everyone joining the live stream. What is up, everyone? Happy Friday to everyone. Welcome in. Welcome in. Man, we got a lot to talk about today. If y'all haven't checked out the full preview and breakdown of the Atlanta Falcons game, we did that with my co-host on the NFC South, Smitty. So go check it out. If you haven't already, the live is actually on my channel. You can check it out on here. You can go watch the replay of it, and we break it down. Black Hat Panther Podcast was a part of that as well. So shout out to them for joining in. And Berto as well from Smitty's side, and Chris from Smitty's side was in there. So it was 3 Falcons, 3 Panthers. So it was good. It was a good show. I had a lot of fun hanging out with those guys, chatting it up, talking ball. It's a lot of fun when you got a group of guys like that sometimes. I appreciate everyone joining the live stream. Do me a favor, smash that like button. And as always, make sure you hit that subscribe button. That's the best way you can show your support. All right, let's get right into it, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get right into it. All right. Actually, you know what? I'm going to do this one. We'll just leave it like that today. Make sure y'all get in the chat. Love to hear y'all's thoughts as we go throughout today's live stream. All right. Appreciate you guys. Of course, live goal as always, get to 50 likes. Actually, let's start off with 25 likes or more. Let's get to 25 likes or more. I would greatly appreciate it. Share the live as well if you want to go the extra mile. All right, let's get right into it, ladies and gentlemen. First things first, man. We're at a 1-4 record right now that screams bottom of the barrel. Like, we're limping into week 6. Obviously, we're hoping for a miracle. And on Sunday, of course, we're facing off against the Atlanta Falcons. Despite all odds, like there's still a glimmer of hope, I think, because of this being an in-game division rival. Now, do I pick? And I didn't pick us to win. I haven't picked us to win. So, I think that there's a chance that we can win, but let's see if we can pull it off, right? And that's what we're going to break down today. See if we can pull it off. And I'm going to break that down for you guys today. But let's be real. Stealing a victory from Atlanta is going to require damn near everything for us going right. So how can we pull this off? Well, it starts with the offense. Can Dalton actually deliver? Like, Dalton is still our starting quarterback. And let's be honest, when it doesn't expire this major confidence, right? Not like a Patrick Mahomes, not like a Josh Allen, not like a Lamar Jackson, right? But he's a lot better than what we've had, right? So after the first 2 weeks than Bryce Young. Now, he's coming off a rough game against Chicago. I knew Chicago was going to be a rough game. I told you guys that defense is for real. Okay. But the Falcons defense is nowhere near as tough as Chicago's, in my opinion. They've given up more points every single week, including 30 points in week 5. So if Dalton's if he can just look competent at all this season, it's now or never. All right. Carolina has a chance. They definitely have a chance, ladies and gentlemen. I want y'all to understand that we do have a chance. Okay. But for me, they need to lean on one part of their offense that isn't a complete joke, and that's Chuba Hubbard. Now, some of you guys know me. I've sat here and said that I feel like that Chuba Hubbard is a top 5 running back. And a lot of people disagree with me. Right now, he is. Stats and all, he's a top 5 running back. All right? He is a top 5 running back as of right now, in my opinion. Now, are there some big names out there that aren't playing, like Christian McCaffrey, Nick Chubb, others like that? Yes. But there's also guys like Breece Hall who aren't playing well. There's also other guys out there, and I'm sure y'all are feeling some of that with the fantasy aspect of things. So when it comes to this, man, like it's got to be Dalton just has to be competent, man. That's all he's got to be. He doesn't have to be Patrick Mahomes. Now, Chuba Hubbard, that's the guy that I want to lean on in this game. The guy has been one of the most productive backs in the league, like I said. And the fact that he only got 13 carries last week is criminal. Because after he got those 9 carries in the first quarter, he only got 4 carries the rest of the half. Now, people are saying, well, we were down, but we weren't down enough to where we needed to stop the run that early. You could have saved your defense a lot of heartache, and Dave Canales stopping that run against Chicago that early to me made no sense. So the Falcons' run defense right now is weak. So if the Panthers don't feed Hubbard and keep pounding that rock, they might as well not show up, because I think that's where Dalton can open up the offense, because of the fact that Chuba Hubbard's run the ball well. Look at what we did against the Raiders. Okay. That's a perfect example. Okay. So then there's the passing game. So the Falcons pass rush has been non-existent with only 5 sacks in 5 games. So averaging a sack a game. So Dalton needs to just keep it simple, stick to the short passes. If he tries to air it out deep, it's going to be another long day for this offense, okay? You're going up against a good secondary, some great safeties, and Jesse Bates, Justin Simmons. Like, protecting Dalton, though, is the huge concern to me. Obviously, with Taylor Moton out, I don't know how long Taylor Moton's going to be out. But also, your center, Austin Corbett, who's been phenomenal this year, out for the season. So, Matthew Judon, Grady Jarrett, they're going to be looking to make Dalton's life miserable as possible. So if Carolina's O-line doesn't step up, ladies and gentlemen, you might as well go ahead and expect Dalton to be eating turf all game long. What's up, Doug? Appreciate you joining the live stream, guys. Appreciate you, James Island. Marcos Cash is in here. Appreciate you. Chris says, Clay, one of those guys should be the only ones who should consider with that first pick. But don't forget David Tepper involvement in the draft room. Jack Sawyer, Mason Graham, Quinn Ewers. I put the QB in there as a wild card choice. Got you, Chris. I got you. But let's go into the next thing, man. We got to talk about this defense a little bit, and we'll dive more into this a little bit more. But this defense is a hot mess waiting to get burned right now. As you can see, those are your rankings. We're tied for 30th, and points allowed, we are 32nd in the league. All right. Carolina's defense is like patchwork, right? With patchwork quilt with holes in every corner. They're injured, inconsistent, downright bad in certain spots, and now they have to deal with Kirk Cousins, who just put up 500 yards on the Buccaneers. And if they don't find a way to put some pressure on Cousins, he's going to light us up. Like and if we look at this edge rushing room, right? And I'm just going to name off some guys to you. Clowney, Charles Harris, DJ Johnson, Teron Jackson, Thomas Incoom. Okay, that's your edge rushing room. DJ Wanham, I don't know what his status is. Okay, I don't even know if he's practiced or even had a limited practice this week. I know he was supposed to be coming off that PUP list or the IR list. Everybody keeps also asking about Jonathan Brooks. Okay, I want to kind of talk about him too a little bit today. It doesn't. Again, they have to give him a 21-day practice window before. I think it's before the trade deadline, if I'm not mistaken. I'll have to look it up. Let me see what I can do here. Or let me see if I can find it. Because there was something that came out that said for Jonathan Brooks. Hold on. I think there's like a 21 window. But anyways, it's like a 21-day practice window that they have to fulfill before they don't get to practice for the rest of the season. So, or they don't get to be on the team the rest of the season. So they won't get any action whatsoever. But when we talk about this edge rushing room, edge rushers are in shambles, man. Jadeveon Clowney possibly out. That's which I'm not too sure what's the status on him yet. They've left that's left with Charles Harris, DJ Johnson, Teron Jackson, and Thomas Incoom. That doesn't exactly put up murder's row of pass rushers. All right. Carolina tried to fix things by signing some aging veterans, but don't expect a miracle here. All right. Cousins should have all day to throw. And if that happens, it's over. If that happens, it's over. Like this secondary is still is gotten better. I think even though we got roasted by DJ Moore last week, and the reason why I say they've gotten better is because we've got a key player coming back. Now we'll see how that works. But now we're dealing with guys like Drake London, Darnell Mooney, Kyle Pitts. Like, let's just say things don't look good in those categories for our secondary, ladies and gentlemen. Like Kyle Pitts is a walking mismatch. Okay, especially with our linebackers. And then unless the Panthers find a way to slow him down, he could have a monster day. And sure, we again, like I said, we get Dane Jackson back, but it's going to take a lot more than him to fix this mess. I like having him coming back. I think they should move him into the slot position with where where Troy Hill is. Move Dane Jackson there. Keep Mike Jack on the outside, of course, along on the opposite side of J.C. Horn. And I think you've got a pretty damn good secondary there. I'm interested to see what happens with Caleb Farley. He was a first-round pick, but he's been riddled with injuries throughout his career. And he really hasn't shown. I think the potential's there, but a lot of people in Tennessee that I've talked to have said that the potential's not there. So we shall see on him. Obviously, the guy's just got to stay healthy first. It's kind of like a J.C. Horn situation, except J.C. Horn has shown that he's got potential, right? He shows that. But let's also talk about another thing. Bijan Robinson. I expect the Falcons' run game to be heavily leaned on in this game. All right. It's underwhelming. The Panthers are giving up 144 rushing yards per game. Bijan could be due for that breakout performance. Now, when I talked to those guys, Berto and Smitty, on Wednesday night's show, they said they like Algier right now. That Algier shows more promise than Bijan right now, but he's just a hotter hand. I think, obviously, we all know Bijan's the better player, but right now the hot hand sounds like, for me, from what they were saying, that it's Tyler Algier. So if Carolina's linebackers don't step up, Trevin Wallace, Claudin Churlis, I'm assuming that's who's going to be his back or is the backup for Jewel. It's going to be a long day on the ground as well. Trevin Wallace showed a lot of potential with the 15 tackles against the Chicago Bears, but he's still a raw talent. So we shall see. So these are your key matchups, man. You got the Panthers O-line versus Judon and Jarrett. You got Cousins versus Panthers secondary and Chuba Hubbard versus Falcons run defense. Like, again, this Panthers O-line versus Judon and Jarrett. You got Moton out. You got Austin Corbett out for the year. The Falcons pass rush. This is a game for them that the Atlanta guys are saying this is a chance for their pass rush to get right. Right? And I don't know if if we want to be the game that gets the Falcons right. I don't want to be a part of that. Right? Kendall comes in and says, do you feel that Robert Saleh could generate better results with the exact same people we have healthy on defense? I think Robert Saleh could get more out of this defense than ever because he actually runs a 4-3 defense, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see what kind of defense he runs. I'm pretty sure he runs a 4-3. I'm trying to see if he runs a 4-3. Hmm. It looks like he runs. Yeah, interesting take on DC. I'm pretty sure he runs. It says here that Robert Solid runs a lot of different things. So he runs a lot of overloads. Um, it says that they converted from a cover 3 to a cover 4 base scheme back in 2022. And then it says that he runs for Robert Sala, Kenny, or Kendall. Sorry, Kendall. He the defense runs a lot of overload, so he allocates more rushers to the one side of the formation than the other. So he has this like topsy turvy front with a 3 down lineman on one side and 1 on the other, and then he runs a lot of split fronts, which it's a combination of single muggers, right? So that's to disrupt the offensive protection, and then he runs a lot of warm pressure. So he'll put up 5 across the front, and he'll either have 5 down linemen by the mugging gap or with a linebacker or a safety, which then would force the offense to block a man-to-man scheme. So he kind of runs. It's I don't know. It sounds like it's kind of similar, but I'm not too sure. Let's see here. I want to make sure that I'm right on his defense. It sounds like he runs a lot of a complex scheme, but I don't think it's a complex 3-4. I want to say it's a 4-3, but I could be wrong. Yeah, because it says they he converted from a cover 3 to a cover 4 base scheme, which is the third highest usage rate for 2 high safeties, and he led the league in usage of quarter coverage, which is 31% in a cover 6. So basically, what Robert Saleh likes to do is he likes to keep things simple. He keeps everything in front of you. He doesn't allow the big plays, which that's what we need. And as a defensive strategy, it's not actually a terrible one because with the defensive personnel we have, the chance of an offense stringing it together 2 first downs is 52%. So that decreases more with more required first down. So if you force teams to, I guess you would say methodologically drive down the field, they're likely to make a mistake at some point. Um, but his defense is not bad. I'm just trying to understand it a little bit better. I'd have to look into it more for you, Kendall. I'd really have to look into it for you more. Yeah, I mean, Marcos, there's definitely no chance of saving this defense at this point. There's definitely no chance of saving this defense. I feel this game's going to come down to the run game. The team who can run it, stop the run will win. It's a good point, Marcos. Interesting take about the DC. Yeah, I mean, Doug, he might have something there. He might have something there. I really feel like we would look much better based on his schemes and aggression. Yeah, I mean, I think the rotations that he runs, like I said, with those like warm pressures with the 5 down linemen and with the one safety, one linebacker down and um, 2 high safeties. That's what it was saying. I mean, it wouldn't be a bad idea, but I'm interested to understand a little bit more about it. I'm interested to learn a little bit more about it. So, um, we shall see. I don't know. I'd have to look into more about Robert Saleh's scheme. I wouldn't be mad to look into it, at least from some of the things I'm reading. But I'm interested to I'm interested to learn more about his scheme. He does a lot. It does seem like he runs a lot of 3-4. It says that he runs a lot of cover 3, then a lot of cover 4. That's what he runs. That's what he was doing when he was in San Francisco, Kendall. But yeah, let's get back to these key matchups real quick. Again, I don't want to be the final waking call for the Falcons pass rush, right? Again, if Carolina can't protect Dalton, this game could get out of hand real fast, ladies and gentlemen. Kirk Cousins versus this Panthers secondary. Cousins is hot right now. Just threw for over 500 yards. So our secondary has got to step up. You going against guys like Darnell Mooney, Drake London, Kyle Pitts, okay? They've been balling. They've had their way. This could be another week of getting shredded, and hopefully not, because we just got shredded by Chicago and DJ Moore and Caleb Williams. Another key matchup, again, it's Chuba Hubbard and this Falcons run defense. Like, this is one area where we have a legit shot to put ourselves in good position in this game. Like, Hubbard's been solid. Sorry, I said solid. Hubbard's been solid. Atlanta's run defense is very vulnerable right now. So if the Panthers don't ride him, I think they're idiots. And I would be definitely questioning Dave Canales' coaching. But here are my keys to victory. Run the damn ball. Keep it short. Pray for pressure. And stop Bijan Robinson. We need a perfect storm to win this game. Like, if we're going to steal victory, this is how we can make it happen. Like, run the damn ball. Chuba Hubbard has been one of them, again, has been the one reliable part of this offense. Atlanta's run defense is weak, so we got to pound that rock, control the clock, keep Cousins in that offense off the field. Next thing is keep it short. Dalton needs to live on the short passes, quick throws, forget deep shots. If they're there, take them, sure. But if they're not there, the Panthers don't have to protect the protection for that right now. Short passes will keep the chains moving. They will prevent this offense from falling apart. Okay? Pray for pressure. The Panthers pass rush is hanging by a thread. Without Clowney, which we're not sure what his status is yet, it looks bleak. Like, they need to find some way to get Cousins, whether it's blitzing, stunts, or divine intervention. This is where we have to be. Mike Variable, Salah out there for options. Yeah. Doug, I mean, again. And then here's another thing. Salah's not going to be the only coach that gets fired this season. So y'all might as well just go ahead and get ready for that. But the harsh reality here is like, this game could get ugly fast, though. Like, for us, if we don't clean up our act from the last game. Like, that's the biggest thing. Like, we're coming off a brutal loss. Our defense is barely holding on. The offense is stagnant as ever. But I'm trying to be somewhat of a glimmer of hope. I'm trying to be a little bit optimistic, but it's very hard right now. Like, the Falcons, because right now, I mean, with all the injuries, ladies and gentlemen, this team looks like a hospital ward. We should be running a medical clinic for how many injuries we have. And there's been a lot of injuries around the league too. So it's not just Carolina, but we might have the most. Maybe besides San Fran. I think San Fran or LA might have more. But when I'm talking about LA, the Rams, they've had a lot of injuries too. So it's like, can we catch a break with this? But again, the glimmer of hope that I have is the fact that the Falcons defense isn't exactly elite. Like if Carolina can control the clock, force a couple of turnovers, they might have a chance to still win. Will they pull it off? Again, right now for me, I just have to say probably not. This is the NFL. Again, anything can happen any given Sunday. This is an in-game division rival. These games are always either close or blowout, I feel like. So if the Panthers play their cards right, maybe they pull it out. If they can avoid being maybe this laughing stock in the NFC South for another week, that'd be great. But again, we shall see on Sunday. But here's the thing, we got depth. And it's time for some of these depth pieces to step up. But the question is, can they? Can they? Can the Carolina Panthers, because can these guys, Charles Harris, Dane Jackson, Brady Christensen, Josh Nishman, Shaq Lawson, okay? Right? Can these guys step up? Now, I know Shaq Lawson's probably not out there, but he's going to end up getting moved up from the practice squad on up, I have a feeling, if I'm not mistaken. Right? Do you think Evero goes if we lose by 2 touchdowns? James, shout out to you for the $1.99 dono. God, I don't know. I don't know if he goes. I don't know if he goes, but it's hard for me to say, James. I would say no, because who are you going to get to replace him? Are you going to go ahead and go get Salah, like right out the gate? I doubt they do that. I honestly think they stick with Evero the rest of the year. But shout out to you for the $1.99 donation. So shout out to you. I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that. Again, we are desperate in need of help, and not from the usual suspects. Injuries, ladies and gentlemen, and poor performances from starts have turned the spotlight on to these depth pieces. Like, the problem is depth. Depth has been a luxury that the Panthers haven't exactly had in recent years, right? We were asking for more last year. Now with the season hanging by a thread, it's time for some of these bench warmers and backups to prove they can step up. Let's be real, can they? Because it's no secret we're banged up. You got key players like Shaq Thompson, Jadeveon Clowney, Taylor Moton, Austin Corbett, Josie Jewell, Jordan Fuller. It's a long list of injuries, right? And we've been dealing with these injuries, and all right, some of these guys aren't all out entirely, thankfully, but week by week, it does leave our team scrambling to fill these gaps. Like, the defensive line is thin. The secondary, I still think that even though I like our secondary now, part of me still feels like it's barely holding on. But even the offensive line has issues. Again, Taylor Moton out. You got, again, Austin Corbett. So in a perfect world, you have the next man up ready. And then we have that mentality, right? You got these guys just stepping in. And let's face it, this isn't a perfect world. And the Panthers' depth has been shaky at best. So with Jadeveon Clowney possibly missing time, this edge rusher situation is looking downright grim for us. Like, the Panthers are left with a ragtag group of players. You got Charles Harris, DJ Johnson at edge rushing room, Teron Jackson, Thomas Ingham. None of these guys, to me, again, inspire much confidence. It's not like Carolina has a pipeline of just elite pass rushers waiting in the wings. And then you're trying to patch things up with guys like you brought in Marquise Haynes, Shaq Lawson. But those guys reek of desperation. Now, if the Panthers can generate pressure, the secondary is going to be left out to dry. And let's be honest, they can't afford that. Now, if I'm Evero with this edge rushing room with Shaq Lawson, Charles Johnson, DJ Johnson, all right, Charles Harris, Shaq Lawson, yeah, DJ Johnson, Jadeveon Clowney. Whenever DJ Wonnum comes back, I'm rotating those guys. I'm making this a edge rushing by committee approach. You've got guys that have been able to put up sack numbers. All right, you had Wonnum put 8 last year. You had Jadeveon Clowney put 9.5. You've had Charles Harris in the past, who's put up 8 to 9.5 sacks. I think he's actually his best season was 10. You've had Shaq, Shaq Lawson, who's been a guy who puts 8 to 9 sacks. That's probably been his average, if I had to assume, not in his background. But Marquise Haynes is a guy that could get you maybe 3-4 sacks. Okay. But I would use him as a edge rushing room as a committee. You've got all these guys, especially with the fact that you can't get no one to stay healthy. So I would just, if I'm Evero, I'm running a edge rushing room by committee. They need to give Mingo snaps all to Coker. Absolutely, Nervous. Shout out to you, man. Appreciate you donating to the channel. Appreciate that, man. Appreciate you with that $5 donation, Nervous. Appreciate that. Kendall comes in and says, it feels in our best overall interest not to fire Evero anytime during the season. The optic looks bad given the recent years, and maybe he leaves on his own. Again, the problem is with Ejiro Evero, ladies and gentlemen, is that he runs a complex 3-4 scheme. That is the biggest issue. But again, he's never had a true nose tackle. Shy Tuttle's not a true nose tackle. Nick Thurman's been the closest true nose tackle that we have. Actually, A'Shawn Robinson's size is the closest thing to a true nose tackle that we've had. But he plays out on the edge. He's never played nose tackle, which is surprising to me. Still, when that man said that. So we don't have anything going for us with this defense. Linebackers, you brought in Josie Jewell, you brought in Jordan Fuller. You brought all these guys that you have familiarity with, but it hasn't worked out, obviously due to injuries. But there's nobody on here that it just spells out elite. Okay, you just don't have any of those players. The only person I could say right now on the defense that is elite or could be put in that category, he's not even playing, and his name's Derek Brown. Right, J.C. Horn, I need to see more before I put him in elite, but I think he can be elite. He just hasn't been able to stay healthy. He's got all the potential in the world. Not gonna lie, I'm gonna be covering my eyes most of this game. Shake my head. Oh, Kristen, you gotta watch. You gotta watch it. I'm nervous for J.C. Horn. I'm not nervous for J.C. I think J.C. is gonna handle his own. I'm more nervous about Mike Jack and these other corners. I say fire. Maybe Cooley or someone else can galvanize this defense. Well, Marcos, another thing is like with Evero, though, again, like I said, it's a complex scheme. He doesn't have a true nose tackle. He's using practice squad and backup players, so I have to give him some leeway there. But also at the same time, he's not willing to change up the scheme. And I also don't think the personnel fits the scheme. And he wanted to bring in these guys that he has familiarity with, which they might fit the scheme better. But Josie Jewell, Jordan Fuller, those guys, A'Shawn Robinson is another one. Those guys really haven't been doing much. I mean, what has A'Shawn Robinson done? What has Josie Jewell done? What has Jordan Fuller done? Like, obviously, Jewell and, of course, Fuller are injured, but A'Shawn Robinson hasn't really been sticking out to me. So these familiarity guys, was it really worth it? It's the same thing. Is Leggett playing Deontay Johnson? I mean, as of right now, I know both of those guys are playing Nervous. I know as of right now, Both of those guys are playing. And then when it comes to Christensen, Nishman start. Christian didn't start last game, nor did Nishman. Nervous, but they're starting this game. They are starting this game. Fire Evero end of the season. We need to draft defense once we get a 4-3 defensive coach. Evero's guys he brought in are hurt. Yeah. I mean, I listen, I think that at the end of the season, that's when they will make up their mind with Evero. I don't see it being a midseason or a right now firing for Ejiro Evero. I think Ejiro Evero is a good coach, but right now with the personnel we have, it just doesn't fit. And he's also not willing to change it up either. It doesn't seem like he's willing to switch up the scheme. So, and that's his own boneheaded mistake. So it is what it is. But even at full strength, this team can't stop the run. And that's another issue. James right. They can't stop the running. But again, you don't have a true nose tackle. And you don't have good linebackers that can fill the gaps. So that's another issue. But again, we also have to think about the secondary. Because it's been a weak league all season. Too. Like J.C. Horn is the only one that has seemed to be competent on the defense. Things aren't looking much better, though, because Mike Jackson has been inconsistent. 1 minute he looks good. Next minute he's getting burned. And then you got Dane Jackson, who I'm hoping is going to return this week. I don't know if that's going to happen yet, but, I think he could make an impact over what Troy Hill's doing in the slot. And do I think he comes in to save the day? That's wishful thinking, but I think he could definitely make an impact. The reality is that the Panthers need someone in this secondary to step up. I think J.C. Horn's they've got to be better at communication on that secondary. There's been a lot of miscommunication, and I don't know if that's on Evero's side or Cooley or whoever it is. This team, like the Falcons, like this Vikings, the Saints, they've got other they've got some strong passing attacks coming their way. Some other teams. Now, this is where the depth has to shine. Like guys like, I know Xavier Woods is not really depth, he's a starter, but guys like Nick Scott who have shown flashes. But it's time to see if they can handle this spotlight. Like if they can't, then Kirk Cousins are going to continue to shred this defense week in and week out. Right? So they've got to be better at communication. The secondary's in shambles at communicating and missing their guys. That's why DJ Moore cooked us. They're missing their man. James, I appreciate you with another $1.99 dono. Appreciate you with that. Guys, make sure we pound that like button. I greatly appreciate it. I really do. Shout out to you. Down with that $1. Appreciate that. With all these injuries, I'm wondering who the heck the Panthers are, the trainers are. I think you're not the only one that's wondering that, Kristen. You're not the only one that's wondering that. I've been wondering it too. Just seems a bit off balance with chemistry, communication with the defense and Evero. Exactly. But let's talk about the offensive line. Okay. The offensive line has been a sore spot for years, but now you've had a decent offensive line. And you lose Austin Corbett, who was a very good. We were all not sure about him transitioning over to the center position, and he ended up being a top center. Looked like a top center in the league, right? Both of your guards, Lewis, Hunt, looked good. This offensive line looked like a top 5, top 10 unit. Even the weeks we lose, they've looked like a top 5, top 10 unit. All right. But the Panthers are relying on these guys now to step in with Taylor Moton out and then obviously and Corbett out for the year, Brady Christensen, Josh Neishman to hold things down. But let's be blunt. Neither of these guys have shown they can constantly perform at a high level. Now, I don't know much about Josh, okay? But I know that Brady Christensen, I don't know if he can perform. That's the thing. The reason why I say it's inconsistent because I don't know. I don't know Brady Christensen transition because technically he played left guard last year before he got hurt. So him transitioning to center, are we going to get the same productivity out of him? We shall see. He did very well at the left guard position before getting injured last year. So again, this line has to protect Andy Dalton, and they've got to open the lanes up for Chuba Hubbard. This offense is going to sputter out of control if they don't, and that's putting it lightly. Okay. So the key players to watching this, with Clowney possibly being out, I would say Charles Harris, somebody you need to watch. All right. They're probably going to he's probably going to take a larger role in this game. Can he bring the heat? That's the question. Dane Jackson. I need Dane Jackson to get back to this lineup. I want him to come out there. I think his impact would definitely help this secondary. Josh Neishman filling in for Taylor Moton at right tackle. He's got a tough task ahead of him. He's got to stop pass rushers like Judon and Jarrett. So, let's hope that he's up to it. He's a big boy. Let's see. So the biggest question is, though, again, can they step up? Can the depth pieces step up when their number is called? If the answer is no, then the Panthers season is going to spiral out of control faster than anyone anticipated. But if it's just a couple of these guys that can rise to the occasion, like the ones you see on the screen, there's still a chance of this team to salvage something left. I'm not going to get too optimistic about it, but the depth on this roster, to me, wasn't exactly built for this kind of adversity right now, especially on the defensive side. Offensively, I think we're better off on depth. And you wonder why they did that. The guy that's sitting on the bench that you drafted first overall. But he's not even playing. So now the injuries have exposed the Panthers. The lack of quality backups have been it's glaring. The reality is that, ladies and gentlemen, is that most of these depth pieces are unproven, and in some cases, I just think just not good enough to compete at a high level. Or their time was 4 or 5 years ago. They're ever going to prove otherwise. If they're ever going to prove otherwise, this is their time. This is their shot. All right. So the injuries are because of that turf. That is my belief. Playing for Jesus, I think you're not the only one that believes that, man. I think listen, the turf has been, I think, a main issue. I've never seen so many hamstring pulls in my life. And it seems like it's a lot of hamstring and groin. It seems like it's a lot of hamstring and groin when it comes to these injuries. And, of course, knees and all that. But holding my breath for Brady, just not confident our O-line guys who got hurt last season because what we're seeing now so early into the season ain't Mets. Kristen, I'm not as worried about the offensive line. Really, the only person I'm worried about is really Josh. If Austin Corbett can move over to center, I don't see why Brady Christensen can't. And I think Brady Christensen has had, it's kind of like Corbett. He's had his time playing center a couple times throughout his career in college and then on up, but not here, but obviously because when he got drafted here, but when he was at BYU. I'm not too worried about Christensen. The only guy I'm worried about is Josh because he's got to go up against Grady Jarrett and those guys. So I'm over Icky and Miles Sanders. Old ass running back who refuses to block whatsoever. Yeah, he's got to work on his chip blocking. Icky, listen, Kristen, I think Icky has done pretty well this year. I'm not too worried about Icky Aquano this year. He's only the only bad play was against Trey Hendrickson. That's when Andy Dalton should have stepped up in the pocket, and Trey Hendrickson just made a better move on Icky. But for the most part, I think Icky's done a much better job than what we saw last year. We need to buyers rebuild this team. Are we competing for a Super Bowl this year? I feel like reaching for players, constantly giving away draft capital is what Fitter love to do. Well, that's the thing. Are we buyers or sellers at the trade deadline? Nervous? We will be sellers for more draft picks. I think so too, Flame for Jesus. I think so too. Like, here's the thing. We've got the trade deadline coming. We're at some crossroads. Again, we're sitting at a 1-4. We're underperforming with veterans, injuries. We need to decide if we're going to push for the future or try to salvage this season. That's what this is about. Are they buyers or are they sellers at the trade deadline? And let's be honest, this isn't exactly a Super Bowl caliber team right now, ladies and gentlemen. So the buyer option, to me, that seems like wishful thinking. However, some intriguing trade candidates could signal a different direction. All right. Miles Sanders. Let's talk about him. Is he worth keeping? Because when the Panthers signed Miles Sanders for that 4-year deal, he was supposed to bring a spark to this offense and be the lead back in this balanced attack. We fast forward to now, and Sanders has been anything but dynamic. Sure, he's had some flashes, but his production has been inconsistent. You got Chuba Hubbard, who is definitely the better, more reliable back right now. Sanders has to feel expendable at this point because Sanders still has some value, especially to someone contending like a San Francisco over there. I could also see Dallas, the rumors I still could see looming over our heads coming after him. If they need to boost their backfield, I could see someone coming after us for Miles Sanders. Now, the Panthers probably won't get a massive haul in return, but moving Sanders could free up cap space and allow them to lean more on Hubbard and potentially develop the young talent. So, which, you got Jonathan Brooks back there. So if the Panthers decide to sell Sanders, he could be one of the first out the door. I hate to say this guy's name, and some of you are going to be like, Clay, he's our best receiver, but Deontay Johnson. If they don't sign him now, he's not going to sign here next year. You sign him now, you get him for a cheaper deal, you save money on cap space. That's the only way you're going to do it. But if you're not going to do that, you might as well just trade him. Because I can guarantee you Kansas City, who lost Rashid Rice, would be a team that would want him right now. All right? I guarantee you here's the thing. The Panthers traded for Deontay Johnson with the hope that he'd be the reliable go-to receiver for Bryce. But this guy's had some injuries. He's had some good games. Then he had some bad games. And he had a good game and it's a bad game. So to me, he's not a true X wide receiver, in my opinion. He hasn't quite delivered as I would expect him to. At his best, Johnson is a solid possession receiver who runs sharp routes. He's a great route runner. He can be a safety net for a young quarterback. The problem is this Panthers offense has been anything but reliable. So Johnson's skill set is underutilized. So given his talent, it's not hard to imagine, like I said, Kansas City, a playoff team, in need of receiver depth, giving up draft capital for him. He's on a relatively team-friendly deal anyways, and he could be a nice addition to a squad looking to make a postseason run. For the Panthers, trading Johnson would open up opportunities for younger guys like Xavier Legette and Jalen Coker and these other guys, and allow this team to stockpile draft picks for their inevitable rebuild, right? Again, I think Jadeveon Clowney is another guy, ladies and gentlemen, that could be a trade guy. I think Jadeveon Clowney could be another guy. I'm gonna get to some comments and I'm gonna talk about Jadeveon Clowney. Jadavion Sanders has looked bad, but I'm blocking and the pass game. I understand the tight end position can take time, but goodness, kid, chip off the buck. Someone please, Kendall. I want to see more out of him. I need to see more. I need to see more out of him. Now, I don't know if it's the scheme, and I don't know if it's the way Dave Canales is running this offense, but the tight end room, I'd love to see more out of them. Kristen, listen, I was there at one point too. I've lost my patience with Icky a couple times, but he's definitely improved. 38-24 Falcons. We have 0 defense. Yeah, I said it the other day on my preview and prediction video. 27-17. I said it on the NFC South Roundtable. I said it on the preview and prediction live stream Wednesday night. I'm sticking to my score. I think it's 27-17 Falcons. Weirdly, we already have 8 or 9 draft picks. Yeah. And that second rounder we got from the Rams is looking pretty valuable right now. It does. Nervous. We do have a lot of draft picks next year. I listen, I'd love to, if we have 8, if we count it right now, let's see if we go to PFF mock drafts. See how many we can go look and see how many draft picks we got. Right now we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We've got 9 draft picks. We got 9 draft picks right now, Nervous. So again, I would love to see nothing more than to get I would love to add 3 more draft picks. I'd love to have 12 draft picks going into this draft. Just hammer them out. Guess who's the next to last worst defense? That's right. It's Atlanta. Yep. They've given up more points week in and week out, Flame for Jesus. Johnson, more of a slot, in my opinion. Yeah, he's not. I don't think he's an X guy. He's not. We only have 1 pick in the first, second, third, and fourth, but 2 fifths, 1 sixth, 2 sevenths. So we could use more seconds and thirds, in my opinion. Nobody we have is worth that right now. Yeah, I think you could probably get Deontay Johnson for you might be able to swing it. If someone's desperate enough, like a Bills or a Chiefs that need a wide receiver, I guarantee you could get a third for Deontay Johnson. Now, Miles Sanders, you're probably going to get like a 5th or a 6th for him. But that's it. And again, he's not the only one, though. Again, you got Jadeveon. Without Thielen, Johnson has been getting doubled in triple coverage. Clowney works as well as an additional pass rusher on a defense that already is excellent pass rusher. Clowney ain't good at being number 1 pass rusher option with no help. Now, I agree with you, Nervous. That's why he was so good in Baltimore. Leggett definitely needs development, but Mingo, it's hard to root or cancel him because some of the last game was on Dalton. Otherwise, feed Chuba, utilize more Coker Johnson more. David Moore. Listen, I think Mingo. I don't like Mingo. I think you got to use. I think I like what I've seen so far from Leggett. I think that he's a guy that opens up this offense as long as he, when he's on the field, he could take a top off the defense. The defenses have to cover him. They have to think about him on the field because he could take the top off of the defense. So I think Leggett's another guy that they need to target more because he's a guy with that 4.3 speed that, like I said, I think he could take the top off the defense, and that would take some pressure off of Johnson. But Mingo's making business decisions. He's over here making possessional catches. So Just like that wide open throw that he had against, I think it was Chicago. The last game, he had that wide open throw and just didn't run forward with it. I don't get it. Never liked Mingo. Didn't want him where we picked him. Yeah, I don't think. I don't like it either. Flame. I never liked him either. I thought that I can't say I never liked him. I expected more out of him. I feel like he's just another Terrace Marshall Jr. situation all over again. I had high hopes for him. I thought he has all the potential in the world. He had all these draft analysts saying he's the next AJ Brooks or DK Metcalf like guy, and he hasn't shown any of that. I would move Coker to wide receiver 3 and Mingo to 4. Josh, I've already seen more out of Coker in one game, who has more potential than Mingo does. And he's an undrafted free agent. Do you think we activate Brooks at all this season? Kristen Butler? I don't know. They have this 20. There's like this thing out there that Joe Persons put out there. I'm trying to find him, what he said about it. It was something about there's like a 21-day window, something like that. Yeah. So getting a lot of questions about Jonathan Brooks, who's 10 months removed from the ACL in surgery. There's a chance that the Panthers open his 21-day window next week. Part of the reason they've been cautious is if Brooks is not activated by the end of that window, he's out for the year. So they have until next week to open up that 21-day practice window for him, or he will not be able to play the rest of it at all. I thought better wide receivers were there. I thought we could get another pass rusher there, but Mingo would have been later. Yeah, I don't disagree with you there, Flame for Jesus. I don't. I thought he had immense potential, but we're sometimes we're wrong. That's part of the draft. Drafts are risky. So, trying to see what's going on here. There we go. Perfect. But let's get into some more trades here. All right. I think Jadeveon Clowney is a guy that could trade. He's a short-term. Is he a short-term rental or a trade bait? That's the question. Like, you signed Jadeveon Clowney. He's who was one of the more hyped moves of the offseason. And let's be real, Clowney was never going to be the savior of this defense. Like, he's more of a serviceable guy at the end of the day. The Panthers pass rush still isn't lighting anyone up. Clowney's value as a trade chip comes from the fact that he's still a big name. Contending teams desperate for an edge rusher could see him as a rental. Clowney's 1-year deal makes him an ideal candidate for a deadline move. A team looking for a pass rusher to boost down the stretch could take a flyer on him. The Panthers could snag a mid-round pick in return, possibly. I think another thing is moving Clowney would also signal they're shifting focus to developing younger defensive talent and move that couple that could pay off in the long run. Now, Thielen, a veteran on the move. I think Thielen, even though he's injured right now, once he's healthy, and I think he should be healthy before the trade deadline, I think. If not, then we don't even have to speak about him being traded. But he's been one of the few bright spots, of course, on this offense, which is a good thing, but it's also a bad thing. And the reason why I say that, it's good because he's producing, bad because the Panthers didn't sign him with the intention of being the main weapon at this stage of his career. Thielen is a great locker room guy. He's a reliable receiver, but he's also 33 years old, and we're not contending anytime soon. We're not a contending team. Thielen is a perfect veteran presence to add to a team that wants a playoff push. He knows how to get open. He's sure-handed. He brings experience to young receiver cores. The Panthers could flip him for some draft capital, which, let's be honest, I desperately need. We desperately need. We've got 9 picks now, but why not add 2 or 3 more? Right? I think Thielen's value is likely at its peak right now. So if the Panthers are in sell mode, moving him makes a ton of sense. Now, this last guy, Bryce Young, y'all's favorite, fan favorite here. Untouchable or not? That's a question. Because I know this one's controversial, but it has to be mentioned. Like the Panthers traded up to draft him first overall. While no one expects instant success from a rookie quarterback, maybe besides the Carolina Panthers fan base and certain people of this fan base did. But Young's early struggles were obviously glaring. He's dealing with injuries. The offensive line's a disaster. The coaching staff hasn't exactly put him in a position to succeed. But here's the question. Do the Panthers believe Bryce Young's the guy? I don't think so. I don't believe he's the guy. And if they don't believe he's the guy, then it's not unheard of to trade a rookie quarterback and go back to the draft for another shot at a franchise QB, which I don't think they should do this year. I think there needs to be wait till the 2025 draft class or 2026 draft class. Sorry. Because this will be the 2025 draft class. Correct. Yes, 2025 draft class. So teams like the Cardinals with Josh Rosen have done it before. So it's unlikely that the Panthers give up Young this soon. If they do go full seller mode, move on from Young, could yield a king's ransom in a draft pick. It's a wild idea, but not entirely out of the realm of possibility. And I don't know if they'll get a king's ransom. I probably shouldn't have said that. But the Panthers should be sellers at this point with a 1-4 record. We have little hope of turning this season around. This is the perfect time to offload veterans, clear cap space, stockpile draft picks. Because the reality is this team isn't one or two moves away from contending. So selling off assets to build for the future is the smart play here. Miles Sanders, Deontay Johnson, Jadeveon Clowney, Adam Thielen, even Bryce Young. They have to have some value on the trade market. I think the Panthers could gain some much needed draft capital by moving them, right? As for Bryce Young, the jury's still out. Trading him would be a massive gamble, but if the front office doesn't believe he's the long-term answer, it's better to rip the Band-Aid off now, ladies and gentlemen. Just go ahead and rip that Band-Aid off now. I thought better. Yeah, there we go. What if we lose both Chubbard and Johnson? I really think it's wise to lock it up with them ASAP, but this organization, who knows? Kristen, yeah, I mean, you can save money now in the cap space if you go ahead and lock those guys up, but I don't know if they do. Josh, honestly, man, I really want to trade back. I want to trade back and go defensive line and edge rusher. So what I'd love to do is right now, let's say the draft started today, Josh, we'd have the 6th pick. So what I would love to do is take that 6th pick and try to see if I can get as much draft capital as possible and trade back and get more draft picks with it. Maybe be able to get 2 first-round picks. You may be able to do that. Or maybe you're able to get a first and 2 extra seconds. Or maybe a first, a second, and a third for that 6th pick. But my first pick, it's defense. It's either a pass rusher or a defensive lineman. Because we need it. And probably in this draft, you're probably going a lot more defense than you are offense. I would say you want to look into the center position again. That's one offense position I would look into in this draft, and probably right tackle because again, you don't know how much longer Taylor Moton's going to be here because he is getting up there in age. But I'm going defense heavy in this draft. Hey, Rob Star, any chances Panthers shock everybody and blow out the Falcons like 35-10 and hold Kirk under 200, or no chance in hell we get beat? Trey, no chance. I would say there's no chance. So I hate to say that, but 35-10 is a long shot. Like if Carolina wins this game, it's like 13-10 or like 20. It's going to be a field goal game if Carolina wins this game. Marcos Cash comes in and says, smash that like button. Yes, please smash that like button. I would greatly appreciate it. We're trying to get over to 50 likes or more. All right. We're already at 19 likes. We got 24 people in here. So do me a favor. Let's go ahead. Let's get a live goal of 25 likes or more right now. 25 likes or more right now. All right. Let's go ahead and get those in. Go ahead and smash that like button. Let's get it to 25 likes or more right now. It's free. It takes one click. All right. So 25 likes or more. Once we hit that, then the next goal is 50 likes or more. Once we hit that, 75 likes or more. Once we hit that, we go 100 likes or more. And then beyond that, we're cooking. We are cooking. But again, I think the trade deadline again is the turning point for it. Can be a turning point for a franchise. Like, will they fully embrace the rebuild, start shipping out veterans, or will they hold on to the hope of salvaging the season, miss out on an opportunity to set the foundation of the future? Again, time will tell. I think it's time to rip the Band-Aid off now. If the Panthers are smart, they'll be sellers and aggressive at the deadline. I think they should. I think Johnson gets traded. Again, flame for Jesus. It wouldn't shock me. Trade back, I think we draft for defense mostly. Yep, exactly. Yeah, wouldn't be upset with that, Clay. Nobody has 2 first rounders this year, so if I looked at it right. Yeah, it doesn't look like they have I think I looked at it the other day, flame for Jesus. I don't think any team in the league has 2 first rounders. So if you want to get a good trade out of it with our first pick, you get a first, a second, and then maybe like a future first and a future third. That's what I would do. That way you continue to build on your draft capital. That's just me. If you're betting, bet against the Panthers. I'm starting London and Pitts for sure. I guess I'm assuming you're talking about in fantasy nervous. It would take the Falcons to not make it to the field for us to win. Felipe has no confidence whatsoever. All right. So let's look at this. What's the win total? What's the win total for this schedule? All right. I want to keep Johnson. I'm just not sure he would stay here anyway. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know either, Josh. All right. So what's the win total for the rest of the remaining season? So if we break this schedule down, we're 1-4 right now. Again, I think let's start off with week 6, ladies and gentlemen. Let's start off with week 6. Week 6 to me right now is a loss. I think the Falcons they're not world beaters, but they've been more consistent than the Panthers have been. Atlanta's offense, it's led by these guys, Kirk Cousins, Drake London, Darnell Mooney, Bijan Robinson, Tyler Algier, Kyle Pitts. Like, it's likely to give the Panthers and this depleted defense fits. Okay, so I expect the Falcons to win this one. So we're 1-5 at that point. Commanders. The Commanders have a decent defense. They've got 2 of our own players that we had on this team last year. Jeremy Chin, for some odd reason, which Jeremy Chin is one of the players I still don't understand to this day, that why Ejiro Evero could not find a place to put him. Why couldn't they just keep him where he was always playing, where he was really good? And you got Frankie Louvu, who chose to go play somewhere else because he wanted to play for Dan Quinn's defense because it was a better fit for him. Ejiro Evero, again, that's where it starts. To those two players, to me, also makes me question Ejiro Evero. Because the Commanders have a great defense right now and a great offense. What's up, Hen? Appreciate you joining, man. Shawan says 5 wins. Oh, no, Trey. This defense has to be revamped. Even let JC Horn walk. Done. Xavier Woods go. Nick Scott. I don't think we win. I think the Panthers prove me wrong. Pathetic Panthers 1-16. You can't keep on keeping fan favorites if you're rebuilding. You should rebuild young and through the talent through the draft. No, I don't disagree with you, Flame for Jesus, with that. But still, to me, to this day, when you look at this Commanders team, how good Frankie Louvu's playing, how good, and then you got Jeremy Chin there. It still bothers me that we literally got Frankie Louvu chose Dan Quinn over us because he knew that he was a better fit there. We were willing to pay him more money, but he went and played for Dan Quinn because he knew that he's a better fit in that defense than he is here. Like, that's sad. Jeremy Chin, like, how can you not figure him out? That's why Ejiro Evero, to me, is on the chopping block. Him Brown, I'm not a fan of Cam Ward. I'm not a fan of Cam Ward. All right, let's continue with this schedule. So now we're week 7 Commanders. Decent defensive front. They're not a juggernaut by any means, but they look really good right now. They do look like a juggernaut, but I think obviously as time goes on, teams will start trying to Jane Daniels will get figured out, but I still think that Jane Daniels, even if he does get figured out a little bit, he's still going to ball. I think he's just that good. But Carolina's offense hasn't shown it can move the ball enough consistently against even average defenses. So you're traveling to Washington, it won't help. So I think they lose to the Commanders. If we're talking about the Broncos game, I think that's another loss. I mean, this is a winnable game in theory because the Broncos are a mess, but the Panthers haven't shown the ability to take advantage of bad teams. And Denver's defense is still capable of making life difficult for Andy Dalton, or if Bryce Young somehow finds his way back. But I chalk this up as another L. So by that point, we're 1-7. Week 9, I think the Saints absolutely obliterate us at home. Again, they already obliterated us then. There's a little reason to think that the rematch is going to be any different right now. I mean, even, unless it's Spencer Rattler, we have a chance maybe, but we'll see how Spencer does this week. But the Saints defense will once again be dominant. Derek Carr, again, if he's playing, he won't have to do much to win. Spencer Rattler really won't either, but I will see how Spencer does this week, but I still think it's an L. Now, the Giants game, I say I think it's hopeful. I think the Giants is a hopeful. I know they just beat the Seahawks, but is Daniel Jones going to go? Is Daniel Jones going to go to Munich and ball out? Like, I mean, we know who Daniel Jones is as a quarterback. Like, the Giants have struggled almost as badly as we have. Now, this is a neutral site game in Munich. Could the Panthers? This could be their best shot to snag a win. I would say it won't be a pretty game for us, but I can see us getting a win here. We're like 2-8. Neither, Hen. Neither. I don't want any of the quarterbacks in this draft class. I'd rather just take defense in this, rebuild that defense in this draft, grab as much draft capital as well in this next draft, and then go into the 2026 draft and try to get Nico or go get Arch Manning. I say we bridge with Andy Dalton one more year. And then we go into this draft and rebuild that defense. And maybe bring in, and then grab a couple pieces for the offense. Maybe they sign a center and a right tackle during the offseason, or they draft one or both of them in this draft. So I don't think Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward are going to translate very well in the NFL. I don't see it. I don't like this draft class. The only person in this draft that I like as a quarterback is Quinn Ewers, because he reminds me of Joe Burrow, but he also reminds me of Joe Burrow because he can't stay healthy. So I would say we bridge, if anything, we bridge a guy and then we go out and get our quarterback in the 2026 draft class, like Arch Manning or Nico out of Tennessee. That's what I like. I don't like any of the quarterbacks in this draft. I'm not a fan of the edge rusher from Tennessee either. He's kind of fallen off for me playing for Jesus. We need to get a bridge guy in here right now. I wouldn't be mad if we went and got Jackson Dart in the second round. And then you bring in a bridge guy to let him sit behind for a whole year and learn, like Andy Dalton. I'd be okay with that combo. Bridge Andy Dalton, draft Jackson Dart in the second round, the quarterback out of Ole Miss, and then let him sit for a year behind Andy Dalton. And I think that would be a great combination. I'm fine with getting an upgrade from old man Andy, but if we don't like a quarterback in draft, we need a pass rush and linebacker. Yeah, absolutely. AOL Instant Messenger, which I'm pretty sure that's Mad Chatter, which why he changes his name, it's beyond me. Corner, yes. They all need to learn to tackle. Any are weak, he stinks. Or bridge quarterback like Sam Howell, probably. Yeah, that would be a good one. I wouldn't be mad at that. All right, so then thank God we get a bye week at week 11. Week 12. No one's picking the Panthers to upset the Kansas City Chiefs here. That's another loss. That's easy. Okay, we're 2-9. Buccaneers, we're home against the Bucs. I feel like this is a game where the Panthers can win. Here's the reason why. The Bucs have been inconsistent, and if the Panthers defense can get some stops, get some people back, there's a chance they could steal this one. The Carolina, I think, pulls off a close win. All right, so I would say that's a win they could get. So 3-9. Eagles traveling to Philly, that's an automatic loss. Okay. Cowboys and the Eagles are both playoff teams. Okay, they're not going to let the Panthers stand in their way. All right. We saw what Dallas did to us last year. Carolina falls in this one, 3-11. Week 16 against the Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals are kind of still, they're still rebuilding. Okay, they're still rebuilding, even though they've got, Marvin Harrison Jr. And other guys, right? But they're still rebuilding. And so if there's any game the Panthers should win, I think it's this one as well. So I would say they managed to win this one. Puts us at 4-11. Okay. Last two games are against division rivals. Bucs will be at home. They're obviously going to be fighting for a playoff position at that point. So even if we manage to beat them in week 13, like I said, a second win here seems unlikely, especially on the road. I would say the Bucs win that game, and then a lot play in the Falcons. Week 18, the Panthers will probably be playing for nothing but pride at that point. Even that might be gone, and the Falcons are probably trying to maybe be fighting for a better seed, obviously, or trying to stay in the playoffs. So I would say the Falcons should win that comfortably, which leaves us overall 4-13. I would say at the end of the year, this team's going to win 4 games at best. Now, after what I've seen, I know I said 6, 7. I said 6 wins, 7 wins was the ceiling, but I also said the floor was 4. And right now, the way the season is going, the floor seems more correct at this point. Rob Starr has been watching the Panthers 2 decades. I've been watching it since the Delhomme era, Steve Smith, Fox era. This is by far the most depressing time. Yeah. It's been a long time, Trey. It's been a long time. I was looking up the defense from 2021 to 2022. They went from top 5 defense in 2021 to 14th under Evero in 2022. Yeah, that's another reason why I'm telling you I think that we have it's not just I do think that Evero is part of the problem, Josh. I do think that there is some personnel issues though too. I do think there's some personnel issues. Again, he's running a too much of a complex scheme. And what he's trying to run is for more players that are superstars, elite talents, and we don't have any of that. And he's not willing to change it up, it seems like. So the balls are catchable AOL, which makes him good for this year. We need another stopgap at the end of the year. Yeah, listen, I get it, Matt Chatter. I get it. They are terrible at tackling. They're terrible at tackling. Like I said, man, I just don't see this team. I don't see this team winning more than 4 games at this point. The Munich game, week 10. Week 8's a possible win. But I would say the games that actually look like they could win is week 10, week 13, week 16, and that's it. And then my 2 maybes are week 8 and week 9, depending on week 9, if Spencer Rattler's playing and Derek Carr is out. That's the only way I could see it. So I would say that we end up with a 4-13 record, which still would put us probably at a top 5 pick. Probably. I mean, we're picking 6 as of right now, which is crazy. I mean, we're picking the 6th pick as of right now. If the draft started today, we're picking at number 6. The Patriots are in front of us. The Bengals are in front of us. The Jaguars are in front of us. The Browns are in front of us. And the Rams are in front of us. Chris, yes, Spencer Rattler is playing this week for New Orleans. So we're gonna get to see what he's got bringing to the table. We're gonna get to see what he's got to bring to the table for the New Orleans Saints. I wish Spencer nothing but the best as a Gamecock fan, but when he comes and plays us, it's a different story. He's not a Gamecock anymore. He's not a Panther. So, I want him to play well, but I don't want him to play well against us. That would be the only difference. So, Guys, I appreciate everyone joining the live stream. Again, make sure you pound that like button, hit that subscribe button. We've been on here for over an hour and a half. I've just been wanting to bring you all some content. Obviously, I've been posting up a lot of shorts. I've been posted up that live the other night, the full breakdown preview with Smitty, Black Cat Panther podcast, and all that. So go check out that last live if you haven't already. That's a full breakdown, the preview and prediction. I did give you today some key matchups, some keys to victory. Also, we talked about, depth pieces stepping up, what the schedule looks like the rest of the way, trade deadline stuff. So brought you some decent content today. So I've just been trying to bring y'all something different each and every day. Let's see. The biggest issue with the defense of 2022, according to the Broncos website, was no pass rush. Sounds familiar. Josh, that's crazy. That's crazy that you found that. That's crazy that you have found that. That's how I feel about Drake May. Okay. So you Tar Heel fan. That makes sense. Makes sense. Clay, there's no silver lining to this season. We won't be a part of the winless club. True. This is true, Chris. We won't be part of the winless club. Spencer gonna ball. I hope so, him Brown. I hope he does, just not against us. If we play him, just not against us. We obviously don't know the severity of Derek Carr's injury yet, so we won't even know if he's playing yet. I don't know how long Derek Carr is going to be out. I think we'll end up with the number one pick. If we trade out of that, we better get 2 future firsts, a second, and a third this year. See, Flame for Jesus, what I would do is I would get a first this year. So trade for their first round pick, get their second round pick, and possibly a third round pick if I can. I'm going to push the narrative. First, second, and third in that draft class, and a future first and a future third. That's what I'm doing. That's what I'm asking for. I'm trying to weasel my way out of that, out of something. I'm trying to, because we got downplayed so much by the Bears, right? They played us like a fiddle. I want to play somebody else like a fiddle. You're a UVA fan. Okay. All right. I'm a Coastal alumni, and y'all beat the brakes out of us. Off of us. So I wanted Panthers to get Rattler. You did, and then so did I. I kind of wanted them to do it too. I was hoping they'd get him in the late round, but they didn't. They didn't. They actually, where I thought they would get Rattler at is where we got Charles Smith Wade at. Let's trade Eddie Pinheiro too. I'd like to trade Eddie Pinheiro. I can't stand him. That's one guy on this team I can't stand. Panthers need fiddle lessons. They do. They do. They should have learned from, with that fiddle. They did get a fiddle lesson though, James. They learned from the Chicago Bears. They should figure that out. They learned how to, they should have done that. So they should have learned from that. I wanted Kool-Aid this past draft. I like Kool-Aid. I was a big Kool-Aid fan as well. I like Kool-Aid. I wanted to, we went up and got Xavier Legette. As much as I like Xavier Legette, part of me still thinks that we should have drafted a center or another pass rusher. That's just me. I think we should have went for, we should have not tried to get Xavier Legette for Bryce Young. Because no offense to Bryce Young, Xavier Legette doesn't fit what Bryce Young needs. We should have never got it. That's the only thing I have to say. Like, I love Xavier Legette. I wanted him, but he doesn't fit with the arm talent of Bryce Young. Because Bryce Young just, that noodle arm can't do it. It doesn't help to draft a guy like that if your quarterback can't get him the ball. Yeah. I think Mingo could be a trade block guy too. Sanders definitely is. TMJ is still on the 49ers practice squad, Matt Chatter. I wanted to get Joe Milton this 6 and let him sit for 2 to 3 years. Chris, listen, I'd love to go and call Patriots right now and say, hey, man, would y'all be willing to trade for, would y'all be willing to give Joe Milton to us? I'll trade you, I don't know, that late round 7th pick, a late round 6th pick. Call it a day. Bring him over. I wanted Taronja Sweat, the nose tackle out of Texas, in the 2nd. Yeah. Would have been nice to get him. I thought his draft stock was going to go down after he got caught with that DWI, but it didn't. And he's balling right now. So honestly thought we're going to draft a center thing in the corner. That was a way that I was thinking to go, honestly, Kristen, but we didn't. He does. Yeah, he's looking nasty over there in Tennessee. So, all right, guys. Well, I appreciate everyone joining the live stream. Do me a favor. Make sure you smash that like button. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Make sure you click that post notifications bell. Also, share the live with your friends, your family. Let them know where they're welcome to come. Chat about some Carolina Panthers football week in and week out. Everyone have a blessed weekend. I'll see you Sunday I think I'll probably do a live stream on Sunday. I'm not too sure yet, but either I'll do a live stream, live play, or I'll do a post-game show. So we'll see. Not sure yet. So appreciate everybody. Have a blessed Friday. Have a blessed weekend. And as always, guys, keep pounding. Peace.